Real slow, what the fellas be yelling?
This is Dunc Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back. Jeff Duncan, Claude Verdun, Dave DeCorbier, and our very own Larry Holder checking in from Metairie Saints Camp. Day 2 of minicamp workouts. Larry has his sunscreen on. He's got his loose-fitting clothing, and he's well-hydrated, ready for another day out in the hot sun. Sir Lawrence, what's going on, buddy?
Well, it's a sneaky day out here because right now it's cloudy. Lots of clouds in the sky, not necessarily the thunderstorm clouds. So it's one of those days where you don't think you need sunscreen and then you leave fried. So buyer beware coming out here if you're coming out to the Saints facility. Again, the practice is open to the public, so this would be a good chance for you to get kind of an up-close watch at the Saints because it's not like they are an overwhelming crowd, say, for, like, training camp. So if you got the day off, if you're heading out to lunch, probably a good chance to come stop in and check out the Saints on the field.
All right, before we get into Saints minicamp news and what your input or insight is to what's going on the field, I got to ask, what's going on with that look you have with Drew Brees that was on the NOLA.com homepage? What was that all about? You look like somebody prodded you or gave a cattle prod to you. It's crazy.
We act like this is the first time I've ever had an awkward moment standing behind either Drew Brees or someone else in the press. This is just a continuation of the trend of me. There's one photo. I think it's part of my background on Twitter where it looks like I'm Jack Nicholson from The Shining screaming, "Here's Johnny," because my face is pinned up against a wall.
Right.
So this one is just, look, who knows? Maybe I'm just trying to shout and get a question and someone did something. I have no idea. But, man, you get caught in those moments, and it's just the nature of – I'm not going to say the beast. I'm just going to say it's the nature of my beast when it comes to working in media in this town.
It's a classic. If you haven't seen it, check out NOLA.com because Larry looks like – I don't even know what. I don't even know how to describe it.
I'm gonna bet that it's going to replace my Twitter profile that's currently off of my half-shaved head. I'm going to predict that probably by the end of the week.
That's a fair assumption.
I like it. I like the look. All right, let's move on to your column because your column today bemoaned Mark Ingram for suspension, not bailing on Saints OTAs. What do you mean by that? Explain to us what you're coming from on that.
Look. Saints OTAs, we've talked about a million times on the show. Helmets, shirts, and shorts. Mark Ingram doesn't need to prove anything in OTAs. He doesn't need to prove that he knows the playbook. He doesn't need to prove that he's a good player within this team. Look, I don't think that if he wants to sit out OTAs and do something else, and that's fine. And I'm sure, look, Mark Ingram said that it's not contract related. Believe that or not. Look, I have a hard time believing that it's not part of that when you're going in the final year of his deal. But if you want to take his word for it, great. If you don't, so what? I don't think it matters that he didn't go to OTAs. Look at all the people who sat out OTAs. Look at all the people around the league who sat out minicamps. Robert Kraft said yesterday in New England that they scrapped the last week of OTAs in New England. They've seen enough. Green Bay, how many players?
16.
More than a dozen or so veterans sat out minicamp. See you later. Goodbye. Look, I think the problem and the perception with Mark Ingram is it's combined with the suspension, and that brings a little bit of a muddy water. And so Mark Ingram, he did not really go into much detail yesterday about what happened, what did he test positive for, does he feel like he was wrong, this, that, and the other. But, look, regardless, something happened, and there's only one person you can point to, and that's Mark Ingram, and that's his fault, and he's suspended. So you could certainly gripe about that. But I don't want to hear anything about griping about somebody sitting out OTAs. You don't need it from him. You just don't.
He says, I'm not angry with my contract. You buy that? You buying that, or what's your take on that?
I don't know if he's necessarily angry because he's done this before. Look, a lot of time. Last time his contract expired, he only had a 4-year deal because he wasn't given the 5th-year option. Cam Jordan was. He wasn't. Both his first-round picks. So I don't necessarily think he's angry about it, but is he maybe preserving himself in some unnecessary situations? Sure, and I've got no problem with that at all. And look, it's not a negotiating ploy. I don't think the Saints are, oh, my gosh, well, he sat out OTAs, so we better pay him. No. I mean, look, Drew Brees sat out OTAs in 12 because he was under the franchise tag, and they didn't hurry up and sign him. They waited to almost the very last second in mid-July of 12 to get a deal done. And so it's I just think it's why put your body at risk when you don't have to, especially when you're going into an important year, the final year of your contract, and you're looking to not have any unnecessary risk, given how much risk there already is in playing in the NFL, and given how much risk it is that you're in a violent position playing running back.
Outside of that, Larry, one interesting, or at least I guess maybe more interesting than most, as an excused absence of people who weren't there outside of Cam Jordan, who we saw obviously was welcoming another child into his family, was Michael Thomas. And obviously Sean Payton was very quick to quip that his absence was excused. But, I mean, obviously, you know, with the way he performed in OTAs, with what you guys were able to see, him not being there in terms of on the field reps, not that big of a deal, giving guys other chances to kind of shine at the position, like Ted Ginn, guys like that, or just something Saints fans should be aware of if he's not there today, possibly?
Well, we're going to be looking for him because let's say it's an injury. We don't know what it is. It is pretty funny, though, that as soon as we sat back down after talking with Sean Payton, he liked a tweet I had about Tommy Lee Lewis having a good day. So he's somewhere checking Twitter, which is par for the course for Michael Thomas. But look, I found it striking that when the question was asked about Marcus Davenport, he didn't want to go into it, but Sean Payton did go into it a little, saying it's a thumb, it'll be fine, da-da-da. Then I asked specifically about Cam Jordan and Michael Thomas, and then he says, oh, I'm not going to elaborate on everyone. And then he says, oh, well, Cam Jordan had a baby, da-da-da-da-da. And then Mike Triplett of ESPN follows up, so is Michael Thomas's absence excused? And Payton just said, yep. And you're wondering if yep actually means nope. So that's certainly something that you're going to be curious to see if he's out here, if there's any controversy. And even if he was going to say skip out on something, he's not even in a position to get a deal. It's part of the CBA. You can't get a new contract after 2 years. So that's you can likely throw that out the window. But I don't know. I think it's just the fact that Sean elaborated about Marcus Davenport, he elaborated about Cam Jordan, did not elaborate about Michael Thomas. Oh, only one of the best players in the league. Leaves you to speculate, and that's what we're at this point, speculating kind of what's going on, and we don't know the full answer.
Talking to Larry Holder, co-host of Dunc Holder, who's out at Saints minicamp, which gets ready to start in about 20 minutes. I think they take the field for the second day of their minicamp, and then they're off for summer vacation. But Larry is on the scene, and I wanted to get your thoughts, Larry, on the news that broke yesterday, right around camp time, that the Saints are going to be bringing in some veteran running backs. Tim Hightower was out there yesterday, reportedly. Jamal Charles and Terrence West are going to be looked at. This doesn't surprise anybody, I don't think. It doesn't surprise you or me. How realistic do you think it is that one of these guys or more will be in camp when they open next month?
Well, I think it's realistic. I think part of it is what does it hurt to bring in a veteran body? Because we all know Mark Ingram's going to be out for 4 games. Also, part of it may be, they're not totally sold on what they have behind Alvin Kamara right now. to go into the season. So how much does any of these guys have left in the tank? Who knows? I mean, Tim Hightower, I feel like he's as old as Breeze. I might not be exaggerating, but then you look at Jamal Charles, he's again, one of those names, but he's been injured, and I think all these guys would just be for the quick fix. I mean, and they've got to know that. And I guess it's better than not having a job. But, Jeff, you and me said this from day one, even when Sean Payton was downplaying and saying, no, they're not going to be looking to add a veteran running back. Things change in a matter of a snap. And so, look, we're not surprised with any of this. Now, who they sign, I don't know. I'm curious to see. But it doesn't surprise me in the least that they're checking out who's available as a veteran running back with the end of minicamp and kind of gearing up and maybe having someone ready to go once training camp starts late July.
All right, so Lawrence, what's on the docket for you today? What can readers look forward to seeing from you in the next day or so?
Yeah, I'm going to continue my observations out here on the practice field. I got a couple of column ideas coming up. I'm talking to some players around the locker room, just how they're going to be dealing with either individual or team elevated expectations because, look, you see it every year. You know, a team plays well, the expectations come, and a lot of times they drop off, and I'll just simply point to this. Last year's division winners, 3 third-place teams, and a 4th-place team. So all the teams that had high expectations, at least a lot of them, did not live up to them. So that's the challenge the Saints are going to have to face. And also, probably around the weekend, I know you're going to be doing a column on looming questions going into the downtime and in the training camp. I'm going to take a look at individual players who kind of either stood out or didn't stand out, and guys to keep an eye on as we leave here and head to training camp, and just to see if they can continue to progress or regress come training camp time.
All right, Larry Holder checking in from Saints camp out in Metairie. Thanks, Sir Lawrence. We'll see you soon, and if we don't see you this afternoon, we'll definitely talk to you tomorrow.
All right, guys. Talk to y'all then. See ya.
Larry Holder, live from Saints camp in Metairie, minicamp day 2 today, and we'll also be talking to Sean Fazan here in about 5 or 10 minutes about his insight and observations from Saints minicamp. First, we're going to take a break. Dunc Holder, Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Stay with us.